If you're watching this, I want to speak directly to you. You may be on the edge of something much bigger than you can see right now. That long stretch of setbacks, the heaviness of waiting, it isn't wasted. Like storms clearing the air, these struggles shape a version of you that's strong enough to hold success. Stay present with me for a few minutes, because the insights here aren't about empty motivation. They're about understanding exactly why your struggle is proof that you're close to a breakthrough you can finally sustain. Ever notice how the longest stretch often feels like it happens right before the finish line? It's that strange slowing where every second drags, almost like time itself is testing how badly you want it. You can picture a student who studies in the quiet hours when everyone else has gone to bed. Night after night, the same notes, the same review, the same exhaustion. Then comes the morning of another exam, and still, no clear sign that the effort has made any difference. Or think of someone sending out application after application, dozens, then hundreds. The email replies are either silence or polite rejections that blur together. Day after day, nothing changes. That's what the waiting moment feels like. Stretched thin, testing patience. What makes it heavier is the feeling that progress isn't visible. You keep pushing, keep showing up, but you don't hear feedback that proves it's working. It's like turning the same key in the same lock over and over without ever hearing the click that tells you the door has budged. The hand grows tired, the doubt grows louder, and you start wondering if maybe you've been standing at the wrong door this whole time. The mind doesn't make it easier either. Psychologists point out that people consistently underestimate how much they've advanced when the pace is slow. If growth isn't sharp or dramatic, we assume nothing is happening. That's why those long plateaus feel endless. Your own brain struggles to recognize movement when it isn't flashy. But invisible progress is still progress. What feels static often hides deep changes under the surface, ones the eye can't yet measure. Waiting is not a void. It isn't wasted time either. It's preparation wearing the disguise of stillness. Picture a wooden beam supporting a house. Before the structure is ever visible, that beam has been shaped, sanded, treated, most of it in hidden processes no one sees. The same is true with us. The waiting phase is shaping endurance, training consistency, and forcing patience into muscles we didn't even know we had. A clearer image might be nature itself. A seed presses into soil, buried where no one can see it. Nothing looks like it's happening. On the surface, the ground is just the same patch of dirt it was yesterday. But underground, roots are weaving, stretching, binding into the earth. The darker the depth, the stronger that network forms before a single leaf ever shows. By the time the sprout breaks through, the support beneath it is already established. In human terms, that waiting period is the foundation being built, even while you feel still. And here's the shift worth noticing. If frustration is rising, that's not failure. That's progress signaling its approach. Doubt doesn't come to people who haven't started. Doubt shows up to those who have been moving forward long enough to notice the gap between where they are and where they want to be. That pressure is evidence you're on the threshold. It only presses on people standing near the edge of change. Think again about the lock and the key. If you've been turning it long enough to get tired, it means you're already in place. The consistent pressure is proof you're at the right door. The mechanism just hasn't made its final move yet. That tension you feel, the mix of hope and discouragement, is part of the system that ensures you're ready once the door opens. The heaviest waiting is really a sign that the ground is shifting, just quietly. The seed is about to break the soil. The door is about to click. The waiting forces you to grow roots that will keep you steady when everything above finally takes shape. That's why the discomfort matters. It's not the end of growth, but the last step before change becomes visible. And that leads to a bigger question. If this stage already builds strength, why does the brain make progress feel hidden instead of letting us notice how far we've come? What if the struggle you feel isn't a flaw, but a sign that your mind is expanding its range? Think about it. Most of us see struggle as a signal that something is broken, that we're missing a step, or that we're falling behind. But what if it's pointing to growth already happening beneath the surface? Strain has a way of challenging our old limits, almost as if your inner system is stretching wider than it used to. That kind of hidden movement isn't obvious day to day, but it's no less real. We usually think of consciousness as either you're awake or asleep, aware or unaware, like a light bulb switched on or off. But that's not how it really works. Consciousness tends to operate more like a dimmer switch, with shades and levels rather than absolutes. Some moments your awareness feels sharp, like the light turned all the way up, while other moments it's more muted, but still present. Struggle, oddly enough, is one of the ways the dimmer switch turns higher. The discomfort nudges it upward, a gradual sharpening that makes room for a new perspective. Here's what people often miss. Most of us measure progress by the external results. Did I land the job? Did the numbers go up? Did I win? Yet the core of lasting success doesn't start outside. It starts with what adapts inside. Science keeps pointing back to this. Our nervous system, our thresholds, the ways our thinking structures itself are what make real change sustainable. External wins are markers, but they're not the engine. The engine is your internal capacity keeping pace with the demand. A useful picture comes from the animal world. Take a crow, hand it an unusual puzzle, and you can actually watch it use steps of reasoning to solve it. That moment, where a bird isn't just reacting, but strategizing, is a small display of higher awareness, or even stranger, an octopus opening a jar with its arms. It's not instinct alone, it's flexible, problem-based behavior. These moments show levels of consciousness that aren't on-off, but more like a rising scale. In the same way, humans under pressure show new problem-solving, new patience, new creative thinking, signs that mind space is widening through struggle. That means what you're feeling right now, in your waiting period, is your own spectrum widening. Your effort may look invisible in the world outside, but deep in your system, there's a kind of silent evolution. What feels heavy on the surface is actually forcing your mind to build readiness you didn't have before. And once that readiness stabilizes, the external results suddenly appear to arrive, when in reality, your inner foundation finally caught up to support them. Picture muscles in training. To grow, they first tear at the smallest level. That tearing stings, creates soreness, makes you feel weaker for a moment. But it's not weakness. It's the very mechanism by which they rebuild stronger fibers. Your struggle works the same way. Before resilience shows, it often feels exactly like fragility. Before capacity stabilizes, it feels like fatigue. The pain of the moment isn't proof of failure. It's the signal of growth actively taking shape. Here's the twist. If it feels like you're being stretched beyond comfort, that is not punishment. It's the evidence that you're developing the ability to hold more. The wins you're moving toward have weight. They carry responsibility, new pressures, greater scale than what you've managed before. Without the stretching phase, you wouldn't have space to carry them. So, the very worry that you're not ready is actually proof that readiness is being built in real time. Think of it like your mind updating its system software. The long pause, the spinning wheel that feels endless, the frustration of waiting for it to finish. These are all signs of the program rewriting its own code. Once the update locks in, the system can handle more complex functions with ease. Without it, even small updates would crash you. Your current hardship is that software update. It's pulling in new capacity you're going to need to not just gain success, but to sustain it when it shows up. So this feeling of being stuck isn't a stall at all. It's proof of movement in disguise, hidden behind the discomfort. The growth is real, even while the screen in front of you still looks paused. Which brings up the next important point. If you're not standing still but actually being expanded, then how can you notice when the threshold is right in front of you and about to open? Right before a major shift, Life often feels like it's testing the very last bit of patience you've got left. It's that moment where everything in you is whispering that you should give up because the weight has been pressing down for too long. You keep showing up, but the road looks familiar in the worst kind of way, like you're walking in a circle, hitting the exact same walls, facing the same problems over and over. And the truth is, you're not imagining that repeating loop. People nearing transformation often experience it as a cycle where progress seems frozen, when in reality, it's a pressure chamber preparing you for the very thing you've been waiting for. Think about how strange that is. The closer you get to what you've been working toward, the more resistance piles on. It should be the opposite, right? It should feel easier when you're near the end. But in life, it doesn't work that way. The paradox is that the moment before breakthrough is almost always the hardest stretch. That's why many people turn back at this point, because it feels like the effort is being swallowed by silence. Yet the pressure is not proof of failure. It's the unmistakable sign that you're right at the edge of transition. This isn't just motivational talk. Studies surrounding resilience show how setbacks actually carve out abilities that easy wins never touch. When things collapse, you're forced to adapt, to rewrite your approach, to find angles you wouldn't see otherwise. Effortless success doesn't teach you how to adjust. Difficulty does. And those problem-solving muscles you've been forced to train in hard seasons, they're the very thing that will keep you balanced when the opportunity finally appears. So what feels like an unfair stall is more like nature's way of giving you the grit you'll need once the door opens. Picture a seed pushing up through the soil. In the earliest stages, it's easy. The soft dirt moves aside as roots stretch downward. But right before breakthrough, the moment it tries to pierce the surface, that's when the soil presses against it the firmest. That pressure looks like resistance, but all it really means is that the seed's growth is almost visible. The very fight that makes the sprout struggle is also the proof that it's almost in the light. Now bring that image back to yourself. If right now you feel like things are heavier than ever, if it feels like life is pressing at every angle, that's not a random cruelty. It's the same soil pressing back against your efforts because you're already against the top layer. The tension you feel so strongly is the signal of transformation about to break open. It doesn't show up when you're far away from it. That pressure only comes when you're already close. What makes this moment deceptive is how little of the growth you can see. While everything on the surface reads as stagnant, something deeper is upgrading. Psychology has a way to describe this. Your models of self are being rebuilt. The way you see your own ability, the limits you used to believe in, even your sense of identity. Those things shift in silence. They don't announce themselves until much later. But while you're busy doubting, your system is actively reconfiguring itself to be able to hold more than it once could. Here's the twist most people miss. The harder the season feels, the more evidence you actually have that you're standing near release. Because why else would the pressure mount now, when the distance already traveled is so great? It builds the strongest right before things open. That's how thresholds work. That final resistance is a marker. It doesn't mean you failed. It means you pushed long enough to arrive where change has to happen. Seeing it for what it is changes the way you carry the stage. Waiting stops looking like punishment and starts looking like confirmation. Every delay, every setback, every cycle you're tired of repeating, they're not signs that you've been forgotten. They're evidence that you've reached the barrier that was always meant to open. And once you recognize that, giving up stops being an option. Because why walk away when the resistance itself is proof of arrival? So what you're in right now, this stretch where patience feels shredded and outcomes feel slow, is not the end of your story. It's the final pause before everything you've been pushing for begins to unfold right in front of you. The discomfort you feel right now isn't wasted. It's shaping you in a way that easy times never could. Strain forces your mind to stretch, your patience to deepen, and your perspective to widen. Without this sharpening, the success coming your way wouldn't have anything solid to stand on. If this message speaks to where you are, type the word aware in the comments. That single word marks your recognition. You see the threshold and you're choosing to step through it. Hold on to this. You're not stuck. You're preparing. The moment you've been waiting for is closer than it looks.